Food for Golf is a show dedicated to exploring the stories and characters that are contributing to the greater golf community. All right, guys, welcome back to the Food for Golf podcast. This is episode 6. And today my guest is no other is Jeff Edgar, better known as Jeff for Birdie. So there we go. So Jeff and I haven't seen each other since our Social Scramble. We've talked, but we haven't seen each other since our Social Scramble in August. Some of you guys who follow us know about the Social Scramble. We had a good time, like myself, like I guess this is 2/3 of the planning committee. So Jeff, myself, and Nino Azarin. Thanks, Nino. Again,
miss you, Nino.
Guest number 1 of the Food for Golf podcast. So anyhow, so I just want to get Jeff on just to kind of go over what we kind of started, and just also for Jeff to share a story on where did Jeff for Birdie start, right? So anyhow, Jeff, how you doing?
Good. I want to get the world out. I want to get it out there to the world. My name is Jeff. My middle name is Jeff.
Okay.
My first name is Edgar.
Okay.
So I go by Jeff Edgar. I've gotten used to being called Edgar. I've gotten used to being called Jeff.
Yeah.
But it's out there. The name is Edgar.
Okay.
So if there's any confusion when you go on my page where it says Jeff Edgar, it's flipped around. I'm not going to share my last name, but Edgar's a name. Edgar's a name.
Okay.
It's out there.
All right.
It's out there.
I know his last name, but I guess right now we're just going to go. You know what? It's kind of funny when if you talk about entertainment or in this social media space anyhow, a lot of people go, we could see people who are even like Joey Colcuts, right? Mm-hmm. For example, someone who's in this golf space. What's Joey's last name? I don't know what Joey's last name is, right? But either way, right? Even looking at stage performers, right? See, like Madonna. Mm-hmm. Madonna's, I don't know what her real name is, but it's not Madonna.
Drake,
yeah. Drake is like Aubrey.
Right?
Yeah. So I guess, I guess it doesn't change anything in regards to when it comes to like social media creating a persona or just a person. It's what it is, right? So maybe there's some stuff that can be performative or you're kind of real about it. Either way, it's just like, hey, you know what, this is what people know me by. And look, I've been big into brands and branding and brand building, or how that looks just in general for people. So Jeff for Birdie, it kind of goes right, Jeff, like, as like Jeff, Fore as in, Fore as in actually number 4, for that word verbiage. You can see the name of the podcast, like Fore, right? Or Fore. And Birdie, and like par 4, right? So it makes sense.
Exactly. You got it.
No, I like that, man. So Jeff for Birdies, or Jeff Edgar, which he's going to go by. So anyway, all right. So Jeff, where are we right now?
We are in Mississauga. We're using the library in my condo. We found this wonderful space somewhere where I'm comfortable, Donovan's comfortable.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're here to talk golf, man.
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of funny. We actually sat down here. I set up studio lights. I do all the production for this, and moving stuff around. We're in a library, and there was a book that was on the ground. It was face down, but it turned out it's this book, John Daly. Everyone knows.
About that.
First off, we're here to talk golf, but this is John Daly with Glenn Wagner. Golf My Own Damn Way, a real guy's guide to chopping 10 strokes off your score. Yes.
Coincidence?
I think not. So we're going to put John. John's going to be front and center in this. So
I'm going to share the story of it. We had to move these chairs, obviously, so that we can get at the right angle. And while we're moving these chairs, we found a book. Had no face down, just like Donovan said. As we're setting up, he notices the book. He goes, "What book is this? Is this your book?" Turns it around, and it's a John Daly book. What are the fucking chances? That is crazy. So this is staying here. Shout out to John Daly.
Yep. John Daly. Okay, so if you guys been following my page for a while, like John Daly is actually the reason why I got into golf. Like my friends on the prairies. Yeah, like you would think, because like 143, you'd say from an artist's perspective, you think like, Tiger Woods is what got me. Well, Tiger Woods was not a known entity at the time. Like I lived out on the prairies. I've talked about this before, but I'll tell you, since you haven't heard it before in person, that my friends and I, like when John was hitting around that you want to say that Wilson Whale driver, the guy with the mullet, like drinking beers, kicking ass. And it was like, hey, you know what? I'm like, we gravitated to that because again, like John grew up in Arkansas, right? Well, he's from California,
Right.
right? He was born in California, but grew up in like Midwestern United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
Again, I lived in Saskatchewan, which is like Midwestern, Canada, and that's kind of what the
Similar.
culture was.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just like the mullet and like the free flow and the wild time. So we grabbed, and he was hitting the ball super far.
Yeah.
Right. He's still long for his age.
Yep.
You know what it is, and it's just like the swing, the swagger, and yeah. So that's what got me into golf.
Interesting, John Daly.
Yeah,
I
John
want to share a
Daly.
story too.
Yeah. Okay.
You would think, yes, same story where it's Tiger Woods that kind of grew the game, got people into golf.
Yeah.
For me, it was Ernie Els.
Ernie Els.
Ernie Els. I was grade 4 at that time.
Okay.
Sorry, take that back.
Okay.
I was grade 7 at that time.
Okay.
I was just getting into golf. My father grew up playing a lot of tennis. I told my French teacher that I was getting into golf.
Okay.
That time, her and her husband played a lot. She goes, okay,
Okay.
for a project, I want you to create an essay and share it with a story in French about a golfer. And I didn't know any golf at that time.
Okay.
She brought up Ernie Els.
All right.
I'm like, okay, who the heck is Ernie Els? Did research on Ernie Els. Soon to find out that Ernie Els kept getting his ass kicked by Tiger Woods. Yes. But because I wrote a story on Ernie Els, I don't remember any of it at all. I wanted to play like Ernie Els. So my swing now, a lot of people tell me that I have a smooth swing.
Yeah.
Ernie Els is the guy I look up to.
The Big E.
The Big E.
The Big E, the South African Ernie Els. Yes.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I love that. It's that. No, I didn't. See, there you go. Right?
There you go. That's the story,
it's funny that people look at the sport and how you started in it, and it kind of brings you around. But there's always like a figure. I guess people like in our generation right now and kind of under, right? There's like Tiger's been that figure that brought people into the sport, right? But there's other elements, and it's maybe not just because. And we talk about like diversity, and we'll talk more about it in here, but there's also like the thought process and how you came into the sport. And your thought was like, hey, your father played tennis, that's a rotational sport,
Absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
your background's Filipino, right? So it's tennis or those certain sports that might be necessarily. Tennis is not a fringe sport, but it can be. It can be in a certain instance. It's not. It's part of like the mainstream in regards to like obviously the ATP, ATPA tour and APT's tour, but it's like, okay, not everyone grows up playing tennis. Like growing up playing like soccer or basketball or football.
It's very easy to enroll into the basketball, the soccers, right? Have your kid go out there. They have the supplies. Tennis, it was very niche, right? Not a lot
and you think you're looking at it that's more club related too, right?
Yes,
although those elements are available, say there's tennis courts everywhere. Right. But it's like, okay, what are the pathways to getting into that on there's a recreational thing, but like also competitive wise, right? Most of it's always like club or country club.
Yes, right. Makes sense.
Kind of like how golf is again one of the sports. It is mainstream, but it's fringe mainstream.
Yes, makes sense. Makes sense.
So when you first started, did your father play? Your parents play
my golf? So my father played tennis. It was a family. My father and my uncles all grew up playing tennis. Okay. So me growing up from up until I was grade 5. Okay. Every Sunday my dad was out there. Okay. Cool. Every Sunday playing with a Filipino group. Okay. He played, I want to say, intramurals. So his club played with other countries. Okay. And he'd take me with him to go watch him play tennis.
Was this like here in
Toronto?
In Toronto, like Mississauga.
Right. Shout out to Roncesvalles area.
Ronci.
Ronci.
Nice. Okay. West End Toronto. What's up?
I refuse to call it Ronci. Okay. I'm old school. It's Roncesvalles, but yes.
Roncesvalles. Yes, exactly. Roncesvalles. Okay. That's where that's where your dad was playing.
He grew, that's right.
Did he go over to like what's it the Boulevard Club over there?
No.
So they play over at Hyde Park.
No. Just by there's a school called Holy Family. I can't remember the name of that public school. There's a high school there. Okay. It's gonna bug me, and I want to come back to this, but there was a public court there, and they kind of took over that court. Okay. And anybody that came by knew that club was playing at that court. Love it. So every Sunday from 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Yeah.
All the way until 1 p.m. Okay. I was watching them play tennis. So
Okay.
my dad grew up playing tennis. My uncles grew up playing tennis. As we got old, as you can imagine, tennis does a lot of damage to your body. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, there's certain elements, the rotation and going through it. It's
yeah.
like, yeah.
So my dad's oldest brother discovered golf, and then it was kind of a stepping stone from there, where my other uncle learned golf, and then soon my dad, once his knee started to give in,
Okay.
and then since then I've been playing golf since I was grade 6.
Really?
Grade 6,
Okay,
yeah.
so you're around, say, like around like 12, 11, 12 years old.
11 or
at that
12 years
time?
old.
You
Yeah.
started playing golf. Okay,
Yeah,
11 or
just
12
taking
years
us to the
old.
driving range,
Okay.
begging my father to take me to the golf course, begging my father to take me to Scarlet Woods.
Scarlet Woods.
Scarlet Woods.
Yeah,
Just take
okay.
me out there.
Yeah. Everyone's shout out to
And
Scarlet.
shout out to the old municipal courses.
Yes,
right?
correct. Toronto municipal courses.
They've
Everyone
been
grows
there
up
for
in
a
those
while.
places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where your dad, he would play.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So what's the first course that you played then? If you're
What's it?
when
Oh,
you started, because like you went to drive. Well, actually, you said you went to the driving range.
Yeah.
So which range did you actually go to first? We'll start there.
there used to be a range, and I don't remember the name. It was at Martin Grove, Highway 27 and Steeles.
Yes. Was that more like was it kind of launch?
It wasn't launch. I don't remember the name.
Okay.
But that's where we'd since my dad stopped playing tennis, we would go to the driving range.
Okay.
And they had one arcade game, Cruising USA.
Yes.
And that was our incentive. Let's go to the driving range,
Okay,
hit
yeah.
as many balls as we can.
Okay, yeah.
And as a kid, we're just trying to hit as far as we can.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And then play.
You know, it's
Cruising
funny
USA.
they say about like you see the professional golfers they talk about, and they're like, what you should start with kids, how you should start, just hit balls. You can't teach speed. You can't just
and on top of that, I learned from shout out to Stuart Bannatyne from Modern Golf and Peter White.
Okay.
They get a lot of kids that come in,
Yeah.
and the parents will ask the same thing: how do I get my kids? What do I do to get them started?
Yeah.
You can't teach them anything technical.
100%.
Go out there and have them swing as hard as they can.
Yeah.
And just do that for years.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You know that you cannot teach speed.
You can't teach
You
speed.
can teach skill. You can
Yes.
teach, parts of a swing.
Yeah, correct.
But speed is the one thing that's So I mean,
That's correct.
yeah. Shout out to my father. Man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And funny, and you know that in any sport, like, look, I played, like multiple sports growing up. I played basketball, I played hockey. Like hockey was like my first
Football.
love. Football, that's the sport that took me to the highest elite level of like college, and tried to play professional. That didn't work out, but we'd always talk about our coaches saying you can't teach speed, because you can't. Any sport you can't teach speed. If the person is fast at anything, he or she, you can do all the other elements to teach them how to be better, to utilize that speed. You can't.
You and I have to talk. I got to know about your college career.
Yeah, we'll talk more
career.
about that. Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah. You got so that's why you got started into golf. Then after you kind of came around, all right.
And to answer your question about where I played first, it's the first course that I ever played, and it's weird how this circle just connects. Was Streetsville Glen.
Streetsville Glen.
The very first course.
Streetsville Glen was the first place
first golf course.
Okay.
And so my uncle, when he stopped playing tennis, he started volunteering at Streetsville Glen.
Okay.
Eventually became a greenskeeper, doing 2 jobs while he's greenskeeping. But before he had left to do a greenskeeper job, he went to my dad and said, we need people to do back shop. So all we're doing typically is putting the carts away at the end of the night. Okay. So every Sunday, we were playing 18 holes.
So you and your dad?
Me, my dad, and my 2 brothers.
The 2 brothers? Cool.
Yeah, we'd play 18 holes.
Yes.
Sometimes 27, depends. And then we put the golf carts away at the end of the night.
The golf carts?
The golf carts away at the end of the night.
You know what? That's kind of funny, because like if you were doing that, and how old are you at the time when you were doing that?
Oh, geez. Oh, gosh. Yeah. That time I was grade 8.
Perfect. So you're like 13 or 14 years old.
14.
You got a chance to drive golf carts. Like, because that's the one thing kids want to do. Want to drive cars. We all want to be mobile, right? If you got an opportunity to drive a cart, yes.
And that's it. And then it picked up from there.
Cool.
We didn't do it. We didn't do it continuously until after high school. That's when we started doing religiously every Sunday, where we'd go out, play, 4 or 5 times a week. Those were the days, playing golf 5 times a week.
You used to play 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of funny if you look at back in those things about, And like I said, I started playing the sport maybe like we just started swinging in parks and like in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, plenty of
And that's where you
space.
start, right? You're
Yeah.
just chucking balls
Yeah.
out and just swing as hard as possible. And nowadays, and even looking at pathways to get into the sport and talk about the junior memberships and all those elements, like you got opportunity to play, having access to be able to play the sport
Yes.
on a course consistently for an affordable price.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what kind of gave you a level of consistency to play every spring, summer, and whatever fall.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
An affordable price, so it's $0.
And so when you started playing the sport at that, so was there a point that, we kind of will go in more into the Streetsville stuff and Kaneff, right? But let's start this way. Did you have a hiatus away from the sport for a bit, or what's the deal? Have you been playing consistently since you started?
No, I've been playing consistently since we started. And, 1 year, 4 or 5 times a week. It's always been at least once a week after that.
Really?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've always been, when I got into school, got into college, I can only play in the weekends.
Yeah, correct. Okay.
Right. When I started working, I can only play in the weekends. Right.
Okay.
There were days, obviously, some weeks where I can go play, but it was no real hiatus.
Really?
Has always been playing because I've had a large group, right? So because my uncles got into the game,
because it's been family oriented.
It's been family very long time. Yes, very long time. We used to host family tournaments. I've always had people to play with. Okay. Right. Whether it was my brothers, I'm the oldest of my family.
Really? Your brothers?
Of my brothers. Yeah, 2 younger brothers, and it's when you grow up with so many boys, it's a competitive lifestyle. So it's absolutely. Like think about it, and what better game to compete in than a game of golf where you're not only competing with other people, you have to compete with yourself.
That is correct. Right? And I think more of it's about yourself.
Yes,
first and
exactly.
foremost, then you kind of come around to it. But that's actually interesting. Yeah. So you grew up in that sort of environment as being the eldest, right? So I'm a middle child. I grew up with like 2 immediate sisters. So I'm sandwiched in between them. So I didn't have that competitive. I mean, obviously, like I think I grew up with some other elements to tolerate, right?
Very caring.
In the female category, which mean managing those elements and relationships, which is good, right? And detail and stuff like that. But I got my competitiveness from like friends and like playing like team sports and so forth growing up.
So you're almost formed into that type of lifestyle.
Yeah, but but I have like 2 different pathways, right? So there's an inside and outside. I can distinguish it, so I can turn it off and I can turn it on.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the big thing.
Okay. That's a good point, actually. That's a good point. I find that not so much now. Once you get older, you obviously get a little bit more wiser. But growing up, it was that competitive, competitive mindset, right? And
it was always constant for you, right?
Constant. Like whether in school, I had to be better than that person, right? If I was, even really anywhere. If I'm driving, I had to be the fastest car out there.
Not count this person passed me. Not today. This is my lane. I'm gonna win, which is cool, right? I mean, it's time and place for everything.
For sure, exactly. Is it healthy? Probably not. Right?
Can it be channeled in the right place? It can be very. You can measure, you can bottle that up and create success off that, but it just depends on whether or not you do it at the right time. That's so funny. Okay. Didn't know that about you. Okay, so your brothers, all right. So your dad. So is your dad still playing now? What's the deal?
He tries to. So he had a golf injury 4 months ago. Yeah, he's got arthritis on his knee. Okay. Tweaked it the wrong way. His knee bubbled up.
So his lead knee?
His lead knee.
Right-handed?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. His lead knee bubbled up this far, so they had to flush out the juices.
Oh, okay, correct.
So he hasn't been able to play since.
That's too bad. How old's your father right now?
He is 1962. So he's turning
62. Yep. Okay, so he's turning about 70. He's turning about 73ish. 73. Yeah. So he's 10 years. So he's like 12 years younger than my mom. So he's like 70 something, right? So it's like my mom's actually going to be, mom's going to be 73 next week. So I'm
holy cow, look at that.
I remember my mom's birthday on November 10th. So we're shooting this actually on November 4th right now. So okay, interesting, man. Yeah. All right. So leading into some stuff. All right, let's go into, all right. So since you started, it's funny that how life kind of comes full circle where you started playing golf at Streetsville Glen. And that's a Kaneff course. That's part of the Kaneff family. You can see you got the relative. Walk up to that camera. Walk up. Yo, what's up? Like Kaneff golf.
Since I was 14, since I was 15, I'm playing.
Since I didn't grow, I was born in Toronto, but I didn't grow up here. So did Kaneff actually own that property at the time
He
when
did.
you first started?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah. He was always been in the golf and property management.
Management?
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
My brother was oh boy, we can go way back. When we started a back shop, my brother went to golf management. He needed to find a place to work
Mhm.
as part of the program.
Yep.
He eventually worked at Streetsville Glen,
Yep.
made his way to Lionhead, got to play with Ignat Kaneff himself.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know, like rest in peace.
Rest in
Obviously,
peace.
he
Yeah.
passed away a little while ago here. So yeah.
And before we continue,
Yep.
we said my dad's age 1962, and I had to do the math in my head.
Yep.
It's not 70s. It's 59.
59.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for the people that you know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
yeah.
Like, yo, what the hell? You know, like Jeff, you like
math
you, like,
is awful.
Math is off. You suck. You know, you're Asian. You're supposed to be.
You're
good at
Asian, exactly. There's people out there.
Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, so Kaneff, like, as people know, that so Jeff is actually one of how many ambassadors are there right now?
Oh,
there were
gosh.
from the ACE program, right?
ACE program. I think there's 7 of us.
7 of you guys?
7 of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool that again, last podcast I talked about Kaneff with Nico Martinovic about how they used to work for Kaneff at that time, and how
crazy.
Kaneff created this program, which is awesome. I remember seeing it back in the spring that they were saying, hey, they're looking for, I guess, persons that would play their courses and I guess post content. So this was your first season doing. I think this was the first inaugural season that they did this as a program. How did you enjoy it?
I mean, shout out to Kaneff. They opened it up for us to play the courses. We were already in the business of creating the industry of creating content, and we found courses that are extremely challenging. Like I grew up playing Kaneff courses, so I knew how hard it was. So when this opportunity came up, it gave me the opportunity to not only get better, but really tackle on this course. And because last year when we didn't have the Kaneff program, I was playing other courses, knowing that I wanted to go back to Kaneff courses and try to be my personal best. Shout out to Kaneff because we did get free golf out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got perks. It was pretty cool that even for us, like you invited myself, Nino, and a group of other people, and we played Century Pines out in Hamilton area or Troy, whatever you want to call it, Ontario or Copetown, whatever you want. They say both ones. Either way, Century Pines, I've played there for a number of years. I've probably played there 4 or 5 times. Nice. That is my favorite Kaneff course, that just personally out of all of them. And the reason why is by looking at price point and conditions, right? You know, the price point of that place and the condition of it matches what the price point has always been. So I've gone there each time I've gone there, I've always enjoyed playing there. And I thought the course has always been in good shape. The last time we went, there was I think they might have had some issues on one of the holes. It was maybe a little bit damp, and one of the tee boxes was just fine. But I mean, the mosquitoes were crazy. They were vicious, but it's Canada. It is what it is.
Canada.
But overall, always good.
And shout out to the Century Pine guys. I remember checking in when we had gone out that day.
Correct. Yeah.
Guys came out to me and they knew who I was.
Yeah.
From my content. Never met them.
Yeah.
And it was nice for them to come out and say hi. It made me feel good. And it was just knowing that, you know, I've been playing Kaneff courses, and you know, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but they found the perfect ace, right? I've been playing Kaneff courses for so long.
100%.
So for them to know who I was, it made me feel pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. You know, and it's interesting that, again, thanks for actually, you know, he comped me my round of golf. So I came there. That was a wild weekend either way for me, you know, and I got to, I was actually in Niagara that weekend. I see my friend Sonia, because she lives just in Stony Creek there. Got to the course just right on time before the last. It was crazy. Like I said, it was a nuts weekend, but it was awesome. Although I didn't play my best, but I had a great time. Again, Century Pines, the first time I've actually walked that place.
Oh.
Yeah, each time I've played, I always carded.
It's a walkable course.
It's a walkable course. I mean, I'm a walker. I love, you know, you guys see me. If I post my stuff, put it on the back. I mean, to each their own. Yeah. Right? But let's just put this out there right away. I'm going to be keeping it real. All right. Walk now. At your age, at our age right now, if you're young, walk.
Interesting,
right? If you don't have any disabilities, right? You know, anything wrong with your legs, karting. There are courses that I think you should kart for, but I think walking is what creates. I don't know. It just gets you into the game.
Okay,
right?
I want to
play.
little bit of devil's advocate.
Okay,
How about
correct.
if you are creating content like myself?
That is different. There we go.
Okay,
You're
okay,
right. There
okay,
we go.
okay,
And that's actually
okay.
that's a really good point
Yeah,
now. And I was actually going to say
yeah.
that the course vlogs and content and opportunity with that, that is a whole different animal. And even that, we actually kind of go into this, right? So from an industry perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
what's been evolving within golf is, again, you being Kaneff ambassador, is the element of telling stories around
Yeah.
that and content and just I guess more of it's stories and
Mm-hmm.
showing
Mm-hmm.
and perspective, right? That's what's helped kind of
Mm-hmm.
form or what the game is kind of moving or evolving into, right? Where we all have an opportunity to utilize our platforms from a digital perspective and obviously technology with our phones to do these things, which is kind of cool,
Mm-hmm.
but to share our insight,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah, so that's a different story.
Well,
When
but I
you're,
second that,
yeah,
and I second that.
yeah,
Yes, walk when you can.
walk when you
Walk when
can.
you
But
can.
man,
Yeah.
if you're creating content, yeah, you probably want to in certain courses. If it's a longer course, you probably want to be in a cart
Yeah.
because you have to. There's so many things that go
Yeah.
on with that. You know, like look, like right now, I do majority of my content on this a phone, right? And it's cool, but there's still even if I want to do microphone,
Mm-hmm.
bringing
Mm-hmm.
things together. There's only so much stuff you can carry in a bag, and the bags. First off, bags aren't cheap anymore, and they're getting even heavier.
I don't
The
know
amount
what's
of
up with that.
things you're
And
putting together. Although
the
the clothes might be getting
material
lighter
that's
from
in
a
it.
composite perspective, it's
Mm-hmm.
still like even some days like look. I mean, you look at me like I even carry around sometimes like bands so I can warm up because I need to get dexterous in
Right.
order to
Right.
make this happen. And
It's a
sometimes I
Dexter
want to even
sport.
carry like a foam roller to
Mm-hmm.
do that. I'm like, yeah, if I'm having it in my bag,
Imagine that.
imagine it. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, and like it's to be different. You know what? If you had a caddy and a cameraman, that's a totally different
That's
story.
yes. That's a different story.
That's a
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
different story. But yeah, you know what? Carts is where it at. There's some
Yeah.
places. It's funny even looking at you go play some desert golf, right?
Which I
For the most
have. Yeah.
part, there's always going to be carts because it's
Yeah.
hot as fuck.
It's
You
hard. Yeah.
know,
You wouldn't
in
walk.
August,
Yeah.
right? You
No
know,
chance.
so or even looking at playing, yeah, I guess even place like Florida or even vacation destination golf.
Yeah.
You want to be
Yeah.
able to do all those things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense.
It makes yeah. And
Yeah.
I have a routine, right? When
Mm.
I'm out there playing, my biggest thing is pace of play.
Yeah.
So not that I don't walk and record.
Yeah.
Don't get you know, if I'm playing the municipal courses like Humber, if I'm playing, you know, I've walked Century Pines,
Yep. Correct. Yeah.
Carlisle, all
Yeah.
walkable
Yeah.
courses. But for me, if it's important, if pace of play is is the top of my list, how do I keep up with that? And that is karting.
Yeah.
Right. But every chance that I get to walk, I
Yeah.
will do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, $25 for
Yeah, you know what? It's
come
kind of
on.
interesting. We talk about like green fees and like we're kind of gonna. I want to get into the state of like golf currently, right? Um and I'm like I'm gonna I can talk about green fees and blue in the face. I think that the game itself or green fees in this certain region at times are astronomical. And I did just say
Mm-hmm.
about the reason why I love Century Pines because if you look at Green's
Mm-hmm.
fee, even if
Mm-hmm.
you put the card in, it has the value. That's a fee,
Yes.
but
Yes.
that's an
Yeah.
agreeable fee
Yeah.
overall,
Yeah. Agreed.
right?
Agreed. I think it's, and I mean, don't call me. The price
Mm,
is probably going to go up, but at this
mm.
point, I think walking was $55 for a course like
55,
that.
something like that,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then cart with that was an extra 20,
Those are
something
20.
like
Yeah.
so you can put it in
$75,
75,
which is well below
which
average.
is blood below,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
75 card in, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That for this region,
Yeah.
Toronto and surrounding, so Golden Horseshoe, wherever it is, yeah,
Yeah.
that is a preferable
It's, yeah.
price.
Yeah.
But I would say that even like looking at the game currently right now, we when we have these conversations like off camera, like Jeff and I, Jeff's a smart guy. You're smart. You're not stupid, right? I mean, and like we have like when we first met, like you've been following my stuff. I've been following you for a while. Then the first time we got a chance to really sit down was after playing Century Pines,
It's just
and
amazing.
we just talked. And I just told Jeff like what my thought processes are and currently what's happening within golf or what could be. And we were talking about, obviously you can see we have two like, if you're listening or you're watching, we have two minors or so. First generation Canadian. My
Mm-hmm.
background is Jamaican, right? Jeff, you're like your first generation Canadian,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're even looking funny at your story, talking about growing up and being a minority playing golf in this region, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. So you're that person, right? And
Mm-hmm.
even looking at where golf currently is, at the state of the game when it comes to diversification. We're talking about just like minorities playing the sport, but women and how that looks. And I think that I told Jeff that our perspectives are a lot different than like the mainstream would be, or the mainstream thought process of what the golf industry was. And I talk about we are right now part of like the new media within golf. And I say that the new media is that we all have our own opportunities and to use our platform that we have, but the perspective we have is different than what the original traditional media and golf media looks like.
And what does that look like? Open up your Instagram right now.
Yeah.
Right. Count, like open it up, just scroll through, and you tell me what that community, or what that, I don't want to, how do I say this?
Face, or
what that face, what that,
and,
you know,
and who's
what
the stakeholders within
yes,
that. And like you say, the stakeholders, the persons who are influential, or they're, when I say influential, that they're the ones, they sometimes hold the keys to the kingdom. A lot of times they're white males.
Yes.
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
I get, and I mean, I think that again, we're talking about the upper echelons of the sport, and people can say that, hey, yeah, well, you know, one of the greatest golfers of all time is Tiger Woods. Yes, I mean, I think Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer of all time. So there's diversity there, but yeah, I mean, he is the athlete. But I mean, that's one of one person. But we're talking about the people who are running companies like TaylorMade, running companies like Cobra, running companies like Callaway, right? Or the management around that, the media that's in charge of, say, like at the Golf Channel, and you can say whatever you want about them, right? Anything, I guess, you know, we have other, you know, like boutique clothing companies and so forth, which is great. The dudes that you want to say like Eastside Golf Village is different, right? You know, it's like they kind of started moving, talking about culture, and this element of the hip hop culture, which has always existed within, you know, music and fashion and so forth, but bringing that swag into the sport, and because it's having someone's a, but I know that's kind of an American experience, but it's more about, it's still the minority experience.
And I'm glad you bring that up. Those guys have done what they've done in the U.S. Right? You're spot on, where we have a market here in Canada to diversify the game and diversify and do what they did here in Canada. Right?
Yeah, but collectively, not from just one kind of minority,
absolutely,
or like the Black experience. It's about the mosaic of what Canada is. You have persons that have, like us, who've been from our first generation, where like you had Caribbean immigration, you had immigration from like East Asia, the Philippines, you know, from India, other parts of the Caribbean, even parts of like Europe, and all those things coming over, and we've kind of all grown up and we play the sport, right? Some of us play sport, or some people are coming into the sport even after kind of around COVID. That's when they came in.
Right? That brought in a lot.
Bring fresh eyes, and even like you know, look at the Golf Sing. Like, he's an awesome coach. I hope to get you on the podcast. You know, you're on my list for guests. But I mean, like, he grew up in Lower Mainland, British Columbia, right? Urban, all stuff. And like he's a good player. I mean, like, you got a chance to catch up with him a little bit. We'll talk more about your event there later. But yeah, like the face of the sport has changed, but more so like Canada, there's an opportunity to tell that story.
It's huge. It's huge.
Right? And I'm not taking away from, like, you know, like, look, like majority of my friends are good. My great friends, my best friends are like my Caucasian, my niece and nephew, they're biracial, right? You know, so
I think we're growing a part of the game that's not out there, right?
Correct.
I think that's not talked a lot.
And I think more about the media around that game, and like the creativity and just a different face. And even like, I created this Golfovan page. It started as kind of a joke, but more came into about, if you go to this page and look at it, and what I'm currently doing in the space is all about information and sharing and promoting the sport, but promoting the sport from a perspective that's a little bit fresh and is a little different. And also, if you hypothetically kind of watch golf and you're kind of interested in it, and you kind of know the rules, but what's kind of air and happening in golf, you could probably just jump onto the Golfovan page or any certain things, and you could learn something of what's kind of currently happening. And it's a soft sell. It's a soft sell, but it's like, it's not a intimidating pathway
Yeah.
to get into the sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Just because you could love golf, right? But doesn't mean that, because like I'm gonna burn Brandon Chambly guy. Actually, he actually blocked
He
me
did.
years ago, which is cool. I mean, because that means that you said something
Yeah.
that got underneath his skin, and I'm gonna keep saying it.
Everybody tag him.
Yeah,
Just keep
100%.
tagging
But
him.
yeah,
Tag him.
because
Tag him.
actually, you can't tag me because you can't see it. Anyway, but Brandel, like the way that he talks about golf and how it's supposed to, it's like you have to look. There is this history. Every sport has a history. Yes, but it's like just because you don't know the inner workings of how the sport works doesn't mean you can't enjoy the sport.
Right.
And that seems very what do you want to call it? It seems very, it's from an ego perspective,
Yeah.
from this
Yes.
whole
Yes.
patriarchy.
Yeah.
Right, where it's like, and that's like that's not going to create an opportunity to get people into a sport.
Yeah.
Because they don't know these certain things. You
Yeah.
didn't know how to, you came to the clubhouse, you didn't have your shirt tucked in, like what, like you're wearing these hats, it's not, that's stuffy.
Yes,
old.
it's definitely changing. And not to say that diverse, not to say that that type of golf wasn't around back then,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
And back to your point where with how the mainstream media is portraying it,
Yeah,
this was always around.
yes,
We were always around.
100%.
But why is it coming to light now? Why,
Yeah.
back then it was there. We're trying to change that.
Yeah.
And I think there's no better place or no better platform other than, social media.
Social
right?
media,
Building a community through social media. I met all my friends, all my golf friends through social media.
Yes, correct.
Right? Like I mean, it's sad to say I haven't seen any of my personal friends in a while because I've been part of this community now, but sooner or later, all of us will get together.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for that to happen, right?
Yeah.
And for it to be out there too. And want the U.S., people out in the U.S., all the mainstream media to see us.
Yeah,
right?
correct. And to recognize it. And that's we talked about this and like, look, okay, go back into that, all right. So let's go back to our, Copetown, our social scramble.
So much fun.
Right?
So much
fun. Like, thanks again for in getting me involved or inviting me in.
You're a huge
you guys
piece.
kind of had this started. Initially, I guess tell the story on how it first started.
Shout out to Nino. Nino's if anyone doesn't know Nino, he I don't even think Nino can play alone. I think he has to have a group out there. And
he practices alone.
He practices alone. Good for him. Good for him.
It's on camera.
Yeah, makes him a good golfer. He's a good golfer.
100%.
Flop king.
Yeah.
So Nino, I say this about Nino all the time. If you invite Nino, you're inviting all of the Filipinos.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, like he has his entourage.
He does, and and his community people, his group of people is fantastic. So fortunately, I got a chance to play with him and his group. Great group of guys.
Yeah.
Small world. I know some of them through Modern Golf.
Okay.
I know some of them through other friends. Nino and we went out to play, and my favorite format is Twosome Scramble. I told Nino about a tournament or an outing that I wanted to run. Nino said, great, let's do it. He knows a bunch of people that can join. So we started there where we started planning. He invited his whole group. I started inviting some of my own people. You started inviting your people.
Okay.
And then it just kind of flew up from there.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because when you got me involved, so we had, again, like a reference that you and I chatted about, where the industry could be going, what we could collectively do. Like we had a shared vision.
Yeah.
All right. And I was like, okay, you got me involved in the plan process. I'm like, all right, wow, okay. First off, shout out to Copetown Woods. Copetown, again, if you guys haven't played it, the mom and pop store, Barry and those guys, they run that place.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, that's what I'm going to talk about, like golf and being open to like having people come around and just, their course conditions are great. And so you got in contact with me saying, hey, would you like to come join landing community? And I thought, absolutely. I mean, because it's like, hey, we had a shared vision. I'm like, and I'm like, all right, there's some people that I hadn't played golf with and I've been following them for a while. I'm like, I don't know how many people we got. Tell me, didn't know we had a cap number. Right? The group just started growing.
Yeah.
Right. So I started putting people in our into like our face our Instagram group, right? And people adding in like this person I like to play with, this person, and that's like, okay, Rick, I'm like realizing like, what, there's a lot of us who are in this new media space, as they call it social media golf. I just call it new media. And I think that getting us together, collaborating, doing the Twosome Scramble gave a pathway and an opportunity for us to meet each other, right? Because some of us have been following each other, but to collectively work together, just to say, like, you're not in this alone, but we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And I think that there is an opportunity for all of us to share stories, but interconnecting, sharing stories. I'm seeing a lot of you right now, a lot of you guys in Canada. I know some people listen from other place, but what's happening is that people are collaborating.
Yep.
And if you look at humans, the reason why the humans we're the most dominant species on this planet is because we thrive together than alone.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how things work. Even like team sports, there's a reason why team sports have taken off, for people love that the most, is because it brings people together. And even in this certain industries that we've always looked at, golf has always been told from like one place. And even currently right now in this country, there's only one media outlet, like Bell's, TSN, that talks about golf. And it has the same faces talking about golf.
Same people.
Same people, and it's their perspective.
Yeah.
Well, we are greater when people know them, they're on their face, but what about us? Or the other persons that's looking at the sport and telling a different perspective?
Yeah. And
so I thought collectively we can all work together.
Absolutely. And that social scramble really opened up my eyes. Like, these people, the amount of how much it grew, and the type of golfers and the communities, their own tight-knit communities that came together. Yeah. It really opened up my eyes, because I knew that they were there. Yeah. But to get them all together in a short period of time.
And we're talking about the people that we didn't get everyone together. And that's one thing that
blows my mind.
Because we only, and again, this is for people, like, again, thank you for everyone who came, right? If I didn't say it out loud or whatever else, we did say it while we were there, but either way, I'm doing it again. Thanks to everyone who came out. And those of you guys who weren't able to make it, just because we got capped at like 48 golfers.
We didn't think we'd reach 48.
Get capped. We didn't know there was a cap. We're just like, you know what, it could have been bigger.
Right? The cap was 36. But
36.
We got shout out to Birdie for opening that up.
One person couldn't have made it, so we only had 47. Right at the last minute, because this kid had a concussion. That's understandable, so we didn't have anyone on speed dial. But either way, that was awesome.
It was great, man. Yeah. It was great for everyone to get together in a short period of time. Everyone knew each other through Instagram, through social media. I want to talk a little bit about golf, because that format brings everybody together. Yeah. You talk about collaborating. Yeah. There's no better format to collaborate than Twosome Scramble.
Twosome Scramble.
Right? Foursome, when it comes to Foursome, you're going to have golfers that probably lose focus, that are not interested in playing. Either they're the weakest link, or they could be the strongest link, but no one else is performing. You don't get all of them in all 18 holes.
Yes.
In a Twosome Scramble, they're collaborating from hole 1 all the way through hole 18.
That is correct.
And I love that format. And in this space where we're looking to collaborate, we found a format where they can collaborate in the golf world, and then outside of that, kind of tie back in talking and networking.
Exactly. And even looking at that is like, you're on the course, because this sport, and it's like what brings people together, but we all have different strengths and weaknesses, but we have our own strategies and how we think. And that's when it's like getting inside someone else's head, but sharing those, sharing our ideas together. Right. And that's and it was perfect. It was like when you said Twosome Scramble, I was like, yes. And even there's other stuff that's been out there. And like the amount of I retired from playing charity golf in 4-man scramble. I'm done.
Did you?
I said that.
I didn't know
I said that a
that.
while back. The guys
okay.
at Together Golf, the guys from Together Golf know that. I said that's the reason why I'm like, nope, I'm not going. I even said to them, like, different format. I'm like, I'll become, because I can go and play as me as a recreational golfer playing stroke play, whatever. It's just cool. But again, the whole collaboration thing, the two thing, I thought like it was like has some validity, right? So
and I don't mean to throw shade at the charity golf tournaments, but they're every golfer's nightmare. It's a 6-hour round. 6-hour round.
Shotgun start.
Still the last one that I went to. Great event. Right. Great event to showcase Scarborough Shooting Stars. Great event to showcase your company and your sponsors. But the golf part was just terrible. First of all, we didn't finish 18. We only got through 14.
Is it because like light?
No, because it's a Foursome Scramble, and there's no when it comes to Foursome Scramble, a charity tournament, pace of play is not is out of the picture.
Yeah.
Right. So we only played 14 holes. One.
Yep.
And two, it was a 5-hour round. Explain that to me. A 5-hour round, 14 holes on a shotgun start. It was rough. It was rough.
That was rough.
I don't think I could do charity tournaments anymore because you're right. I can go out and play.
Yeah. No.
I played 27 holes in that.
If the charity tournament is single stroke play, or if it's
Twosome Scramble, Twosome
or
basketball,
if it's alternate shot, you know, I'm there. I mean, or I'll be open to it. But yeah, foursomes, all that stuff, card in. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Gone. I mean, and it's funny because again, this is perspective.
Yes.
And why these things are good golf, it has to be this way.
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Where it's like it's like because okay, we do a charity tournament, shotgun start, sell out 4 spots. Everyone's gonna come, and then it's gonna be this. Gonna be the format.
Yeah.
It's always been this same way.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Just because it started with, you look at evolution of this. We're in this process of evolution and looking at like live golf, and that's come on the scene, and there's certain elements. There's a different golf. There's a different way to do things.
Yeah. And why do they do scramble tournaments? Why to I want to say flex, but to what's the word that I'm looking for? I'm sorry, I'm losing my words.
Is it either one that to showcase the course? Is it just one of they start off as charity? They some of them are charity.
We call them charity tournaments, but there are businesses.
They're a business, right?
Yeah.
Because there's revenue generated from
there's revenue, yeah, and it's really to I guess showcase their business, and then they just want it's like getting a group together at a bar, right?
Yeah,
like
correct.
Getting
Yeah,
guys
they're very
social
events, right? And everyone's like, "Hey, I'm at a scramble." Like I know, like my friend Chris Elliott. I mean, he doesn't play golf a lot. I mean, but Chris is a different human being. Got loaded, but he was like, I'm going to play the scramble because they're all like drinking fast.
That's it. It's a drinking fest. And that's why it was a 5-hour round when we played. Yeah. People in front of us were drinking. Guys come up behind us. They're obviously at a point where they're intoxicated. Yeah. I'm no longer golfing at that point because I'm starting to drink.
Yeah, correct.
I'm there just to get free stuff. And I mean, great. It's the great networking event. I just don't think it's not really growing the game. And when people host charity scrambles, when they host Foursome Scrambles to grow the game, it's not growing the game.
It's not growing the game.
Anything but that.
It's actually right about that and understanding, and you're looking at creating funds to donate to certain causes and so forth. There, and Edgar, we're gonna have a tournament, and it's the same format. Yeah, you're right, because it does turn into look. I mean, again, golf's a social event, beveraging is part of it, which is awesome.
It's a social event. Also,
beveraging, smoking, and people snort, which is cool. Whatever you're into, it's not my thing, but whatever you're into, no judgment here, man. Like when you do you, right? But I can see that, that is a great point, Jeff.
Snorting, John Daly. Shout out to John Daly.
The ultimate party golfer, John Daly, ultimate party golfer, right? Which is cool. Yep. Shout out John D. But okay.
He's not out playing scramble tournaments to win.
That's true, man. Yeah. If you could be. Hey, okay. Before I wind back up, if it was a Foursome Scramble and John Daly, that's when I would come out of retirement.
There you go.
For John, that's
it.
Cool. But you're right. Yeah. So it's just if you're looking at growing the game, and we talked about certain elements within right now, what's happening within the sport, especially in Canada. Let's just focus around Canada.
Yes,
growing the sport, right? Or like even regionally. There's a few people that you got the First Tee program, right? And that's out there. I think it's cool.
Shout out to Maya.
Yeah, Maya. I'm to get her on the podcast. Let's be fire, obviously, and sharing her story. But First Tee, and I thought about this yesterday or a couple days ago. I was like, okay, and I want to say this out loud wherever it is. All right, cool. Getting people into sport. How do they start? And Jeff and I shared our story how we started. But why did Jeff continuously start golfing? Because he golfed with his dad and his family. Now, does that exist in a sense of where if you want to grow the sport, and I saw this thing, the Score Golf put this thing out, and I read person Jason from Soroff wrote this thing about, there's Golf Canada has this mandate. They want to get 30 professional golfers playing in the PGA on the PGA Tour. That's another thing, and LPGA, wherever it is. Like that's what they want. Their numbers, right? They're pushing for that, and that's another story. But I'm like when Jason, the article from I understood, he wrote about how that there's a gap right now. Obviously, Brooke Henderson is she's the most successful professional golfer right now, right? If we're talking about professional golf, and then there's other people coming underneath her, but there's this space in age gap. Well, if you're talking about first year program, people coming in and trying to fill that out, well, you can get these kids playing golf, but if they're going to perpetually play and continuously play golf, the other one, they want to play with their friends, and I love the team golf element, but also playing with their families. Where is the pricing point to find a way to have families being able to play because they play together? Because this sport, we know you can play for a long period of time. It's intergenerational.
Yep.
And if you're going to try to inspire the next generation of kids, you're going to have to, yes, you can inspire them to play and their why, but for them to perpetually love the sport and see it because they're participating with their family. That is a gap. I don't know if Canada's doing that, but understanding like where is that family package or rate? You see it like when we're talking about, you're not going to get the numbers you want for people to play the sport at the country club level because majority of what's even going on in this country right now economically ain't fucking going to happen.
No.
You're going to have to collectively find a way to package and find so families can play.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I'm thinking of some of my friends who had fathers that played. Their fathers or their parents would play with their own friends. Right? Country club, for example, they would go play with their country club friends. Where the child learning the game, he's not going to want to continue because one, his parents don't want to play with them. And if they do, you know how it is as parents, or they're hard on their kids.
Correct.
If their parents are not invested in the child if their parents are not invested in the child, they don't want to continue playing. Right?
Correct.
So I think that me having my dad there, having my brothers there, having my family there, that really pushed me and really motivated me to continue to play. Because one, I wanted to beat them all the time, right?
Okay, there you go. Yeah, there you go. There's a competitive outlet.
The competitive outlet, yeah, exactly. Earlier, right? Yeah, so having my family around is a big piece, and you're comfortable. You're comfortable being around them, right? You're comfortable being with you're playing with a group of people that you are comfortable with. You're not introducing yourself to a new group of people. You're not constantly trying to impress other people. You just go out there, you play, you do your own thing. There's nothing beats that. Nothing beats that at all.
Yeah, and so like families, right, and collectively getting together. Because again, it's like if you think about when we all play this sport, there's a time commitment.
Yes. Oh yeah.
There's massive time commitment, especially we talk about pace of play. Apparently, like even living in a large metropolitan area like this, that you already know if you're gonna go play golf, you're planning on playing 18. All right, so the drive might be an hour, the commute might be an hour one way. All right, then after if you're gonna go, I need to warm up, do all these certain things. So that's like maybe like 40 minutes beforehand the tee time. The drive back. This is like, so if the round's about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. We're looking at 6, 7 hours. So that's 6 to 7 hours out of your day.
Yeah, that's a work day, man.
That's a work day, right? To put in, put in a shift.
Yeah, never really thought of that. Usually when you're out there,
that's what it is. So if you're actually going to think about it and even looking at, and you talk about like getting more like families, kids in sport, like male and females, right? And like partners, like like women. So like there has to be like, and you're spending time with people. Yeah. There has to be a pathway to make that so it's sustainable. So it's like, hey, you go out and you're going to play with your family. You're going to play with your kids. You're going to play with all those people. And it's going to be Foursome, like wherever it is, and you're playing and going out.
So this is, I guess, a conversation we can have outside of the camera. But and actually, it's a good piece for you and I to get together. But how do we get these families involved, right?
That's correct.
How do we get both the parents and the kids?
Well, I think the parents and kids are already playing right now, and I think, like I said, the reason I talked about this, and even that article that Jason wrote there, it's like can where's come? Well, where'd you think? I don't know if they're having this conversation at Golf Canada, thinking about, I'm talking about the whole PGA Tour, getting people playing on PGA Tour. That's a different story. I think they should look at playing professional golf on any tour, right? Looking outside the PGA, because it's like there's a lot of great things you can play the sport and come back to. coming back into North America, but play all around the world to learn about the world and be more well-rounded. But I was saying that, where's your guys' pathway? Did you ever think about looking at that element? That there's probably untapped talent that are like, because you have persons who are our age right now who are having kids, right? And we're into the sport. Well, that's where, I mean, where do you think that they're going to come from, these other, this next generation?
Right.
That's where the influence is going to come from.
Right.
And it looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
What you've been looking at from the ways, the pathways of the country clubs and all those other things.
It's changing. And I like
that's
the route that
identifying
it's
talent.
taking.
That's where it's probably going to come from, because there's already a love, because we've all loved the sport. Where do you think that love for that sport can actually come from those parents, male and female parents?
Right. No, good point.
Right.
And family is a touchy subject, right? And not a lot of people are close to their families. No judgment there, but their families are. I mean, like I've known people, their family is their social media friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's just that who's going to support you the most, and sometimes it's people that you meet along the way.
Yeah. Correct.
And then we may not be able to grow it with direct family, but growing a community is building a family.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. And I think that those are pathways or different ways to look at the sport. And again, this is going back, this is coming from minority perspective. So this is like perspective.
Yeah.
Unique. So it's like, it's from our stories. So it's like, okay, we never really thought about it that way. Well, I mean, who are the people in the room, right? You mean, the faces look a little bit different. You get you get innovative ideas.
Yeah.
So if anyone's listening to this, like, hey, you know where to find me. You know where to find us. Right? I mean, come on. I'm like, who wouldn't want to talk to us? All right. So let's go into, all right. So you've been kind of in the industry. You did work for a little Modern Golf, but I guess you're hanging up your Modern Golf.
Unfortunately.
Or shirts or t-shirts, right?
We wear t-shirts.
Yeah. You're hanging up your, like, I guess.
I'm hanging up the badge, and for those who you didn't know, I don't think a lot of people knew this, but I did work at Modern Golf part-time. When I was trying to dunk that 60, that challenge that I did, I was working there part-time. So it was, I had the opportunity to do that, and shout out to them, because I became the golfer that I am because of Modern Golf. I had the opportunity in the winter time to practice, muscle memory. I have great people that I spoke with, that I learned from. If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be the player that I am now. Right. So unfortunately, I will not be going back to Modern Golf.
Okay.
It was a second job, and I don't think my body can take working a second job anymore. I met great people through Modern Golf, and it's a little bit bittersweet. But I'm hoping that if I do work with Modern Golf, it'll be in a different angle. Not so much an employment point of view, but where they're helping me out and what our goals are in the community.
and like, look, I stepped into, finally got a chance to visit Modern Golf, Middlesbrough Golf in the financial district. I went by there, and it's good, great vibes. And like you and I chatted about certain things that they're currently doing, and maybe they could look at another element of their business if they're looking to create an opportunity from a functionality perspective to branch off into not just be kind of more into the narrow-minded focus within the market. Because I think that currently right now, with the bays, the clubs, the first off lessons, technical stuff in regards to understanding to getting fitted. That's probably a great idea. TrackMan, the launch monitors, part of the gamification of golf, but there's other elements. But I think that, I think they have something that's cool. It's unique. It's definitely it's a Canadian company, right? How many locations they have right now?
Oh boy, good. Off the top of my head, they're going to kill me for not knowing this. I'm going to say 8.
8, yeah. And that's 8 total in Canada.
8 in Canada,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So currently in the GTA, there's obviously downtown. That's one.
They've got 2 outlets. Skymark. Yeah, 2 outlets. One in Mississauga, one in Ajax. They've got the Oakville location. I think they have 3 out west. Yeah. So that 8, and if there is one in Alberta, and I'm sorry if I don't know.
Okay. So what's the difference between Modern Golf and Outlet?
Outlet is purely retail. So they put all their demo clubs there, all the last years. Yeah. So manufacturers, how it works, and I don't know if I should be sharing this, but I'm sure the manufacturers, when we do our fittings, manufacturers send us out clubs. Those clubs, once we only hold the current models.
Yeah, correct. Okay. Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Which makes sense. I mean,
For the fitting,
from
right?
like for fittings perspective, right, to hold the current
Yeah.
models, and also it goes back into obviously having a good insight into
Yeah.
retail. Like from an inventory perspective,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
allows you. I mean, you have to inventory has to turn over,
Yeah.
right? And if you
Exactly.
have, especially in
Exactly.
Toronto, you have limited space, right? So you're not going to be able to warehouse so many things
Yeah.
at the back. So
Exactly.
you can't hold so many.
No.
Yeah,
No.
and like the
So
modern golf's
previous
locations
models,
aren't that large, right? So,
exactly. They're not big. They have a lot of spaces, but they're not that large.
yeah, correct.
So their current models go to the outlets where
Mm.
they sell some of the old models.
Okay, correct.
Some people consider trade-ins.
Okay, yeah.
They have a massive build shop at their Skymark location.
Okay, cool. Okay.
The build guys there, to me, are the
Club
best.
builders?
Club builders,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Club builder.
We call it the golfsmiths.
Oh goodness,
Yeah, golfsmiths.
yeah, those
Yeah.
guys are great. They know so much about it, so that they'll fix the clubs up. Any clubs or shafts that they use for fittings gets put together, and then they go into the outlet. They also have apparel there, shoes, and stuff
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I haven't been to one of the outlet places. So okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
I'm,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised. Yeah, Skymark location, I highly suggest anyone to go.
Mm.
Huge putting green for putting fit. They just set up their well putt machine. Obviously the 6 bays, the build shop.
Yeah.
Within the golf space, and I don't want to talk too much about modern golf because within the golf space, they are well equipped and they're ahead of the game, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's cool. I love that. That's hopefully that they have going on as a company and being new again, offering a different perspective, not just I know obviously like Golf Town, so forth. I know Golf Town's now gotten more into the fitting game because obviously with Tour Experience Golf, and they obviously went to Club Champion Media,
Yeah.
right, and then Golf Town brought up their like a thing there, like what they call it. GX or something, GX, something like that.
Right,
I
something
think
like
their
that.
brand is,
Yeah.
and that's because like
Yeah.
that's their fitting, like
Yeah.
their boutique
Yeah.
fitting
Yeah. Something
experience,
like
right?
that.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, like when we all do play this sport, there is a lot of technical aspects, and realistically, like look, even like my own clubs, up for a sniffing an upgrade. I got something going on with that this year or next into going next season, to do what I'm going to do, and I'll talk about that later on. But yeah,
And I suggest everyone to get a fit. There's this. There's there's a saying, there's this, what's the word I'm saying, everyone should get a fit. There's this, I keep forgetting the word that I wanted to say, but most people think that when you should go for a fit when you can start playing golf.
Okay, correct.
Right?
Yep.
Even when you're at a level where you are good at playing golf, you're still changing, you're still improving. Those people will still go for another refitting.
Yeah.
So as a beginner, you need to know what a shaft does for you and how it will benefit you, even if you are a beginner.
Yes.
Right. So I think that it's a myth that it's a myth for people to think that they should go for a fit when they become better at golf.
Yeah.
It is not the case. And because when you go for a fitting, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy anything. It's the knowledge that you gain when you go through a fit.
About club design and understanding those things and like talk. Yeah. And like, it's funny because I've never gone for fitting, right? I mean, like I know technical aspects of the sport, so like, 'cause I've studied all this stuff and actually learned. I'm an analytical person, but it's funny because like people don't. You gotta like lie angles, massively huge, because it's funny that you can all do things as golfers and you think that things are kind of like, okay, why is the ball flying this way? It's not flying because like people think I need to change this thing about my swing, which is cool architecture. If you don't understand your own swing architecture, but you're trying to change some stuff, but did you ever look at your lie angles? Might be a little bit different, but also even looking at the shaft, obviously using the necessary shaft that they might be doing currently.
And we all Google what a shaft does.
100%.
For example, one shaft is fit for someone with a low swing speed or a slow swing speed. Not necessarily the case, right? Each shaft has its own characteristics. Depending on your type of swing, the stats will reflect which shaft fits you the best. So although you do research where you think one shaft may fit you, if you're in a person, and I'm going to, for example, if you're in a person, although you are a slow swing speed, if you're a person that comes into out, that shaft that you Google search that you thought would be good for that slow swing speed still won't be good for you. So there's so much assessment done with the numbers because everyone does have their own swing. It is a myth that you have to do a fit when you get better at golf. not the case. Go get the knowledge for ones that, it can be costly, but there are opportunities to save money. There are opportunities to save money and still get a fit. Keep an eye out, take advantage of those promotions. Modern Golf, shout out Modern Golf. They do a lot of promotions. Keep an eye on them and just go gain knowledge.
And knowledge is power, right? I mean, and this really started this podcast to share those stories and knowledge, but that's actually a really good point, because the more you know, the better, right? Who doesn't want to know shit?
Hey, and if you know a lot in golf, you're people look up to you, man.
I mean, apparently I do. I mean, but again, it's like I know a lot about a lot. Apparently not. So let's see what it is. Okay, cool. All right, so. So let's go into some things like what are your goals for this off season, right? I mean, I know you shut it down a little early, which is good. It happens, right? I shut it down early because my hand, getting some work on this, some treatment on Monday, which is cool. It sucked. I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But what are your goals for the off season?
Oh man, I never thought of this. That's a great question.
There we go. See, this is bringing you guys the first exclusive of this.
Yeah. So let's physically, obviously, get a little bit more fit. I'm able to in a position to play, but I find that I have back pains. I want to gain a little bit more club head speed. And I know that what entails to gain more club head speed, engaging the core, doing the right exercise, right movements. I think I want to focus on that this year. Last year, I was working purely, and this, from a golf perspective, I was working purely on golf contact. I'm in a position now where I think I'm comfortable. So now I want to work on the physical body. So that's what I'm focusing on this year. Unfortunately, I won't be at Modern Golf, so I won't get to practice and swing a club as often. I don't think I will be swinging a club a lot this year. Life gets in the way sometimes, and
absolutely,
I'm kind of taking. You talked about the time that it takes to play golf.
Yes, it does. It's a fucking commitment.
It's like indoor golf.
It's a fucking job.
It's a job. Yeah. Indoor golf, you think is quick, but that's still a 4-hour day for me if I were to go. So I want to use that time to kind of, enjoy life a little bit more. Right. Spend a little bit more time with my wife. So and like physically,
and see those friends you haven't seen.
Those friends I haven't seen.
Unfortunately, because you went into the golf sphere, right? The golf pod, I call it.
The bubble, the golf bubble.
The bubble.
So hopefully, and unfortunately, my friend, I'll be playing a lot of squash this year because, this condo that I'm in, they do have squash courts. So I'll be playing a lot of squash this year. So I think my goal this year is physical, my physical self. Mentally, when it comes to golf, I think I'm okay. I'm comfortable when I'm out there. Funny enough, my set of irons, if you don't know, PXG irons, PXG wedges. I've got a TaylorMade driver, PXG 3-wood, and a ping wedge. I'm gonna do a test next year. And it's kind of going out there where I want to see what happens when I use old clubs. So I have a set of old clubs, and I'm gonna put this out on my story soon. You're gonna laugh at the set of clubs I have. I got rid of the Stealth 2 that I bought. I'm getting rid of the PXGs. I got rid of my entire set. And it may do damage to my handicap, but it's a bit of a tester to see what kind of golfer I am with old clubs.
Older technology, right?
So it's going to be a tester.
I love that, because it's funny that I'm doing the reverse. I'm going to upgrade.
as you should. You should.
Actually, you know what? Actually, I'll tell you right now, and I've done this. I've been, for the longest time, for the last couple of years, I've been researching. I love what Bryson DeChambeau's done for the game of golf, and I think that him becoming not necessarily like Liv's perspective, but him becoming equipment free agent, a lot of people to see certain things, and him testing the crank, driver, and understanding that him with LA Golf and the shafts, and the shout out to Stephen Lowe at LA Golf.
Steven's a great guy,
but with him playing the one length irons, and I've been researching this for a long time. I've been doing it lately, but I already have the stats and the analytics and looking at that I want to go with one length.
Are you? Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was actually going to go with one length. I'm 5'6", so I was going to go one length at 8 iron height, because 8 iron is always a club that I've always had. I thought it was a big, because Bryson used the 7 iron as his marker for the one length when they did the Cobra stuff, right? But I would actually do it at the height of an 8 iron and go.
Highly suggest going to Modern Golf. We fit for one length clubs before.
Yep.
You understand with one length now you're gonna have a weaker loft, all that stuff.
Yep,
It's a
correct.
lot of adjustments that has
A lot
to
of
be made.
adjustments happening
Yeah.
with that, correct. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I did talk to those guys at Modern Golf about that. And I said, hey, you know what that would kind of look like,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that'd be something. But I have some things written down in theory, what I want to be able to do within that. But I was actually going to go the one length for, so I guess from 4, probably about, I think 4 to maybe pitching wedge, or 4 to 9.
Okay.
And then go pitching wedge and to like whatever those wedges down to. Maybe I'll probably keep the pitching wedge at the same 8 length. Maybe not. Probably 8, whatever it is. Then I would actually do the other smaller, like the, you know, like a, say like a 52. My gapping wedging is 52, 56, and 60. And I would do those the same length.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But I wouldn't do them the same length as 8.
I'm excited to see that, and I'll tell you why, because it's going to be a huge test. Like your yardages are going to change.
Yep, correct.
Right.
Yeah.
The ball's going to react differently.
Yep.
I always said, well, I mean, obviously, if you have technically you can't hit the ball, but the clubs that you're using is never ever the wrong club. It's what the ball does in reaction to that club, right? Or related to that club. So one length club, you're obviously gonna get more spinny. You're gonna get the ball's gonna be a little bit more spinny. It's gonna go a little bit higher.
Yep.
I'm excited to see how your game will either improve, or
well, it will fucking improve. I can tell you that much, because I've been using technology that's older and it wasn't fit for me.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
You know?
From that perspective, absolutely.
And that's the reason why I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to do that, because either way, I mean, it's like iron stuff. And like I've been flighting balls and flighting different spins, and playing like fades and draws, stuff like that.
Nice. Love it.
Cool. Like even like the shafts that I've been using my irons, the majority of my irons are like regular flex, which
that blows my mind.
Just crazy. And that's the reason why I get like these fucking crazy hooks. And
and I've seen your swing. You definitely.
And like, so the flight's not consistent, or it can't be, right? Or like it needs to be, there's certain things that have to come together and it's consistent. So, and I guess even with this hand injury that I've had, or whatever happened, it's created this big bump. So it's like, even looking at, I've been using, sure, people look at hands, you know, like standard grips, but I would actually go mid-size. And like I did years ago, 2018, 2019, I actually had a mid-size grip in my driver. In my for my driver, and I hit it way better. Now that she got back to driving the ball good this year.
Okay, good.
This year, but it took, when I got back to went to standard, it was totally different. But at mid-size, so I'm like looking.
And I remember you saying you were comfortable with your driver.
Yeah. For one, you know, which is good. And you know, it's kind of funny that doing that, and I didn't actually do anything in the off season. I just, you know what I did in the off season, because I was in Saskatchewan. I had to just do mental reps in my head.
That's thinking about so important.
It was all mental reps, and looking at theories and looking at how I'd hit. That's what I would do. And then eventually over time, got the clubs out of storage. I started looking at doing that. And so what happened was, since my driver setups, I had everything. I wanted to get good at driving. So my setup, at address, changed from that. So it starts off from the driver and going all the way down.
Yeah.
And so in years past, what it was, I was working up and had the club closer to my body. And then after I got to driver, it was too close to my body and I wasn't able to drive. But I had to go from driver down. And that's where, so now I look at video and all, I'm like, my angles kind of changed, or like how I'm addressing the club. Right. But it actually created consistency with my driver and all those long clubs coming all the way down. So I was like, okay.
I think it's easier with an iron and a wedge shot. Obviously, you're coming a little more steep. It's easier to start off wide and then coming in steep. So starting with your driver and then iron versus coming in steep all the time and then now having to go driver and try to go wide.
Go, correct, exactly. And that's what it was. A lot easier. And that's what. So I'm like, okay, I don't need to change shit. I'm like, driving the ball good, whatever it is, it's cool, then it's fine. Even now more so, it's because I have this fucking hand issue. It was creating issues at the bottom because I can't. By time I haven't played good golf since our Social Scramble. Since because it's been downhill since then.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, it's been downhill.
Hurts to hear, man.
Yeah, because it was. Yeah, that was good. That was like the peak of my season, anyways. Right, that was a peak event. So everything started to harden, like in my hand, it started to harden. So now it created an issue at impact because the club face would close. Right.
Yes,
it would just stay open.
It's your lead hand too, right?
Double clutch.
Yeah,
I lead.
I see.
And after it was just like, so it was crazy. Yeah. But I could still drive the ball because the ball's on the tee, and the club face would still stay because it's still impacting and it's not coming into the ground.
Right.
It's just hitting it off a tee, so I could still hit things off a tee
Makes
in that
sense.
sort of realm, like
Makes sense.
and driver, because again,
Yeah.
also to the club head is a lot bigger than an
And an
iron.
iron, yeah. Plus the impact.
So if it was
not
like
as much of an
if it was dispersion, it's a little bit off, but it was
Yeah.
still hitting.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So,
Impact on the
yeah.
driver is not as severe as
It's severe,
iron,
yeah.
'cause you're
And
not
that's
hitting
where
the
it's
ground.
like, yeah, when the club, it was done.
It's funny.
Yeah.
That's opposite of what
Mhm.
like it's funny. They teach you obviously,
Mhm.
you know, wedge game is easier to hit, so they have
Mhm.
people practice with a wedge.
Yeah.
I never thought of someone practicing the driver and go
Down.
down that
I
way.
went down that way, but I needed to because I had a bad like I didn't use driver for a couple. If you look at my videos, I didn't use it.
I do remember your videos
And all of a
before.
sudden, I
Yeah,
started,
that's
and
right.
everyone's like, "Oh, you're hitting driver now." I'm like, "I told you." I'm like, "This is my," but that was my goal. So your goal was to play a little better than that certain thing. So you said about it, but my goal, like you said, with contact,
Yeah.
was the contact. That was your goal.
Yeah.
My goal this past season was short game, which I made some improvements. By new wedges, the wedges are done. I mean, either way, but it was that short game and driver.
Wedges. I want to touch about wedges. Wedges is all here. It's all here.
Mental, 100%.
It's all mental. It's all mental.
100%. I saw this thing. I'm gonna reshare it. I saw Xander Schauffele talking about wedges and stuff, or just his wedge play, and he just even said for himself because like he just talks to places like people like Phil, and this is the way he does it, and that's what it is. Because there's not necessarily, and I know Phil kind of talks about it as this: if you're gonna slide it down or slide it low, it has to be back behind your stance or forward.
Yep.
And I think again, and sometimes when you talk about golf, and people are saying again, that's the old perspective where it has to be done this way.
Not with
Not
wedges.
the case, because
Yeah,
you got to
not
look
the
at
case.
biomechanics of people. Because
Correct.
I have a background in exercise science, biomechanics, and persons, and you got to look at how they address the ball
Right.
and what's going to go.
Yeah.
There's theories behind how you can do things, but what's your process to get you
Correct.
to do the ball to make the ball control the way it's going to control?
Correct. And what is that making the ball do at the end of the day, right? I always said
correct.
with wedge game, there's no wrong or right way to chip. It's how you're chipping is a result of what the ball is going to do, right? So knowing that if you're a person that has to set up at the back of your foot, if you're a person that has to set up in the front, your ball is always going to either go one certain way. So knowing, having that knowledge mentally, it'll help your game drastically because you're not trying to do something that's out of your comfort zone.
There you go.
So it is all mental to me because there's also, you're not going back, full swing. There's so many factors to it, right? So I think knowing what a ball does in relation to your swing, and you could see it instantly with chipping because you can practice it 100 times and get that instant feedback, or get an amount of feedback with the amount of volume from the balls that you're hitting. It's totally mental. It's a lot of it is mental, right? People, they start becoming bad chippers when they're trying to hit these flop shots, not addressing properly, but they're going away from what their natural swing is, right?
Natural swing is,
natural tempo. And from, you talked about address is so important. Address will always tell you what the ball is going to do, right? Play around with different address points, play around with, your grip, all that stuff. It's really truly is a mental game, and you could become a better chipper if you really understand what the ball is going to do when you're around the greens. Right?
No, you're right. And like even like this year, like I have a chipping stance or more like open.
Yeah, you were saying that. And that was your go-to, right? You were saying that was your go-to,
and it did work. But it was like there are certain instances again when it's funny because I think also too we often give ourselves credit as just golfers if you play other courses, and you got to understand grasses are different.
Oh my gosh, great point.
So sometimes
great
you're not
point.
doing something that's right, but
Yes,
if you're playing different tracks, open, sometimes the ball's gonna react differently.
Yes.
To when you hit it.
Yeah.
Right. Just because if you're playing at like a really pristine course and the course conditions are the same throughout. Right. Then it's like the balls are going to do the same thing, but you think that sometimes like, what's going on with my game? Did I change something wrong? Like, no, it's just like you got to. Okay, you might have hit that one wrong, but also understand you're in a different environment.
Yeah, and when I say mental, like that's a great point because when you're playing a different, Bermuda grass, bent grass,
bent grass up here, right?
Bent grass up here, exactly. You think that you have to change something technically when you're chipping because you've chunked the ball, right? I say mental, like focus, as in take a look at the grass. Which way is it pointing? What's going to happen when you do that, right? So stuff like that where you're not really thinking so much about the technical aspect anymore, right? It's what's the ball going to do in relation to the
Potential.
grass, right? The
Yes.
potentially with right. So it's really all in here when you're chipping, because
That is correct.
it's not as technical as people think. Right?
Yes, it's correct. And even
Right.
like what I did this year, and I'm proud of myself for sticking to this process. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start the season off. I'm just gonna chip with my 52.
I love
Right.
that.
So and I just said,
Yeah.
this is I'm gonna nail it in and just chip with 52.
Yeah.
Because that 52 was okay, it's gonna react the same.
Yeah. React the same. Exactly.
React the same, or just like as like like, oh, look at, because maybe even I chose that 52, but look at the blade of grass, whatever it is, maybe I need this, but I just needed to have some consistency.
Yeah.
I just chose 52.
And you've taken out,
flood it higher or low.
exactly.
52.
Yeah. And you've taken out a lot of that technical. Like a lot of people think, oh, now I'm chipping, I got to grip it hard.
Yeah, correct.
I got to grip it a lot looser,
Yeah.
more wristy.
Yeah.
Now you're getting too technical, right? And so having your 52, having this one shot and alter it a little bit, that's going to go a very long way. Now you can focus on the right things.
That's correct.
Right? Yeah,
exactly. And because you can grip it at the same, right, you can choke down on the club so it's coming out a little bit differently. And I thought that was one thing for me that helped better. Like I didn't play that many rounds. I only played 20 rounds this year, right?
When I first met you only played like 3 rounds at that time.
Yeah, I did. Well, because I was like, well, shit, because I was gone for a long period of time, right? And so I came back. I already missed the big golf. Like my first round was June 1st.
Oh, God.
It was crazy.
Dude, yeah.
Right, and then after, and then some technical stuff with my hand and so forth there. And even had some other injuries anyways, too. So I had to kind of deal with them. But yeah, I only played 20 rounds, which is fine. It's down from like 75 I played back in 2021. And then last year, I think I had like 36 or 42, right?
Can you guess how many rounds I played this year?
You tell. Okay, can I guess?
Yeah, take a guess.
I did see it. You posted. You said it, but I'm going to throw it out.
Cheating.
I think it was, but I'm like, I know you have a good memory. I think you said either 36 or 40.
It was 30.
30.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
Relatively speaking, that's not a lot.
It's not.
That's not a lot. People bring in the 50s, the 70s, like you said.
Yeah.
30 is not a lot.
It's not a lot of
I've
rounds.
only played 30 rounds
kind of hit that stride. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember I played my best golf was that when I hit that 30 and going to certain parts, going up to 70, right? Where you just kind of level out. But
well, 30, like just put in perspective, that's only once a week.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe once every other week.
When was your first round played?
Oh gosh. Well, we were traveling, so in the wintertime I was still playing. So I got to play throughout the year.
Okay,
the first round was April.
End of April. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's about it. I figured that. Okay. Yeah. But it's funny because you also shut it down early.
I shut it down early.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And so same with me. Like I did shut it down. I started to taper off early. So so getting that 20 and starting later, that's actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
You're right. But I would say that coming in, like if you bookend high, if your bookend's high at the start, maybe you kind of slow down for summertime, but you get that low end, you bookend like higher at the back end. Yeah. Where you play that fall golf, then it's different, right?
Yeah, very true. Very
true. I get that. Okay. Interesting. All right, man, we got. Actually, one more thing. How did Rise Tribe go?
Rise Tribe was great, man. Shout out to Rise Tribe. Their goal as well is bringing a community, right? So, if anybody doesn't know, Rise Tribe is a Filipino community where we bring in Filipinos from all different lines of businesses and build this community where we can all network, piggyback off each other, get to know each other a little bit more. They are now focusing on the golf world. So Mark Villena, he is the content creator for the NBA G League.
Yep.
He did this program with Hoopdome.
Hoopdome at Downsview, right?
Yeah. No, it's shoot. No, it's not Hoopdome. That's my fault. Where they brought together the basketball community and gave them this pro experience. So they brought in professionals to share their stories, similar to what you're doing, and then go out and play a game of basketball, right? Give them that locker room experience. Give them, the experience that a professional would. So they're now tapping into the golf world where they want to bring in golf enthusiasts, golf professionals, people within the golf industry, and give our guests an opportunity to live that pro golf experience. So the locker room, we've got storytelling. So we ran our first RBL Rising Bogey League event not too long ago, but Rise Tribe has hosted tournaments three tournaments now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look cool.
Yeah. It was a good event. It was a great event. We have a lot of big name people. What they've got going on, the storytellers that we have coming in next year in April 2024. We've got Golf Heads,
JP,
JP,
you know, and Pace of Play,
yeah,
JP,
and
Golf
Ash,
Heads,
and Ash. So we got both of them that are going to kind of share their story.
Yeah.
Amaya will be part of that as well.
Yeah.
We want her to share her story, because obviously, just like you and I, we want to grow women's golf as well.
100%.
Who else do we have? I don't know if I can say the other ones
yet.
No.
Like it's just a preview.
But
it's
like
a trailer.
preview.
You see in movies.
Yeah.
It's like, you gotta sprinkle a little bit of a little bit of salt on the wound, right?
So it was a great event. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play in the event. But that the event that we ran was great. The locker room experience was fantastic. We've had we have had companies that put some of their products into the lockers, so when they came in, it was a goodie bag full of stuff.
Okay.
LA Golf was there. They showcased their putters.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was. I believe it was Mike Gray. He was the first person in Canada to use a left-handed LA Golf putter.
No, I love that.
That was cool. That was cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So shout out to Steven again. Thank you for being part of that. But it's only going to get bigger next year.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and that's good. I thought it was pretty cool and seeing that. And sorry, I couldn't make it again. I had to work, and also it's just like I had to shut it down. I mean, it's like it's no fun when your body's not reacting to certain things to play golf. Sense. It's like it's one of the we all know this sport's pretty hard, but I hope to being able to have an opportunity to support that or certain things that you guys are doing. Because again, it's about bringing people together, but it's like a little bit of a different perspective. But people are doing something that
so they're building a culture. They're building a culture within the golf world.
Yeah,
right. It's very similar, and I think we can work in conjunction with them with what we want to do.
Yeah, correct.
So I'm excited what's going to happen next year.
Yeah,
they've got 6 events that they've already planned. For next year. You and I still have to talk about our very first event, Social Scramble.
Yes.
And I know there are people that reached out, they want to play. I thought of you.
Yes.
Suk, you're in. Yeah, Eric, you're in.
Yes, correct.
You'll be there.
Yeah, correct. Okay, and so like before we kind of close out here a little bit. All right. So Jeff and I, we've been talking, and the Social Scramble, I've done some little creative stuff around that, but we're looking to run more of these events. Coming up into 2024, we're going to discuss. We've discussed, I guess, a little bit of a powwow around some ideas and what we want to do to bring you guys or bring more people together for it. And we're looking forward to it. It's not just only having just one event, but having multiple events over the course of the season. We don't know what it currently looks like, but we have some ideas. And,
I think for starters, and sorry to interrupt, I think I mentioned this. I want our first event to be primarily women's focused.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to work with Amaya. I want that first event to have as many women golfers as we can.
I like that.
It's fall time. It's actually that time is going to be spring.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's going to be springtime. It's a good time. It's not too hot at that time. You know, good time to showcase some of our fashion.
And what's to come. I think that and we're talking about 50-50, right? 50%. Like, like the reason we're fucking alive is because a woman at us, right? Exactly. I mean, it's like we're actually breathing air. So it's like, where's the other part of the population? Yeah. And not saying it's like, you know what, man, look, well, you're married. I'm not. I'm a single man, wherever it is. But, hey, I'd love to date someone and when she played golf, it's something you can collectively do. Again, bringing things
There's
together.
No better place.
There's no other place.
Yeah.
Right. We all love, like women who are golfing, awesome, golf babes, whatever it is. Fashion's good. Like it's like you're like a man's dream, right? Just if you play golf, like you're already in a different category.
God. We're tapping into Cupid now, man. We're trying to find
100%.
Yeah, love through golf.
Men and women together.
We're tapping into a different world now.
Exactly. So we'll stay tuned for that. We have some things brewing. I know, but we're just putting out there, and I guess we have the format to do that, so we can say what we have going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So last thing, a little bit of fun here, right? All right. Jeff, being Filipino, what are some good Filipino places to eat in Mississauga?
You're throwing me under the bus. I don't eat
a
lot of. Okay, I've heard a lot about Bella's Indusal. I heard a lot about that place, and every time I drive over there, Yeah, it's pretty busy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a place on Kennedy, and oh gosh, I want to
Are you talking about Kennedy in Scarborough?
No, because Kennedy, Mississauga area.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, all right.
So place in Kennedy and like Highway 7 area.
Okay, yep,
There's
cool.
a Filipino restaurant. Oh, Bella's.
Bella's. Okay,
Bella's.
as you said, Bella's.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Bella's,
I went to Bella's. I drove by there one day. A small mom and pop shop.
All right.
Nothing fancy about it, but that food to me was close to home. So the Bella's Indusal. Oh, Bella's Indusal, and then there's Bella's Bakery. That's what it was. So they're both Bella's.
All right.
Bella's Indusal, Bella's Bakery. Those two for me, I really enjoy out here in Mississauga.
Okay.
Yeah, but I oh gosh, I don't need a lot of Filipino food here in Mississauga.
You know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you in Toronto?
In Toronto.
Okay, there you go. Let's shout it out. Let's go. What do you got?
Well, I mean, drive to Wilson, man. Wilson and Keel? No, what's Wilson and by the Yorkdale area?
Yeah, well, it'd be like
Wilson Heights.
Well, I guess Wilson and Dufferin, Wilson. Yeah, I guess Wilson and Keel.
Yeah, Wilson and Keel. Yeah,
or
Wilson
Dufferin
and Keel.
area.
Yeah,
That's probably where it is.
You can't miss it. You drive down there, they're barbecuing. They're barbecuing every single day. Yeah, Filipinos barbecue.
Little
Filipino. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know the history about that place?
No, I don't.
No.
Yeah.
So when Filipinos migrated here, obviously a lot of Filipinos are nannies.
Yep.
That was primarily a Jewish area.
Okay.
They all went there for work, and that's why it became the very first Filipino migrated area, and that's why a lot of Filipinos live there now. Yeah. So that they call it Little Manila because
Little Manila. Yeah.
They started working there. They were working for the Jews.
Yeah. I love that. It's awesome because actually it's funny because again being Jamaican and so forth there, like these little communities that started in Toronto, and I just learned maybe a number of weeks ago that I didn't know that kind of initially the Little Jamaica started in like the Bathurst and Bloor area.
Yes, yeah.
Had no clue until I saw a picture. I saw a picture of an old, on Instagram they have like there's one of the accounts for Toronto accounts.
Oh yeah.
Old Toronto. They had
it
was like a Jamaican store.
Honest
And it's like funny because like my father, if anyone knows the story of my father or whatever, so I found him and he was hanging out in that area because I hadn't seen him for years, and because that area had such significance to them. So back in like the 70s, yeah.
So that was the Bathurst.
I think so. Yeah, one of the ones. Yeah, Bathurst and Bloor, right? Then eventually you see like on Eglinton.
And then move over
there. A little bit of that.
Yeah,
Eglinton, West Eglinton, like kind of around Eglinton, Dufferin, or roughly around that way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So if you're ever in Toronto, Wilson Heights area,
the
best Filipino restaurants there. Yeah, best.
There you go. All right, brother. Okay. All right, Jeff. Thanks a lot, man. This is great. Actually, look at him. He has levelware on there. So
shout out to levelware.
Levelware is changing the game in the Canadian sports. So anyway, all right, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for listening and watching. And I guess stay tuned for the next one. All right, my friend. That's it. See you guys.
That was awesome.